Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Guys on Sports. We are back again with our friend Jay in tow. Seems like he's becoming a fixture on the set. I wonder if he'll stick around.
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little
fixture. Is this his third show and third jersey?
Yeah.
How long can he go?
Yeah. How long
That's
can he
it.
go?
Just
Hey, get
today.
out.
How close can he go?
Closer to me, please. So
This is my final one.
We're deep in the offseason. We just hit running backs, wide receivers, as far as the rookies who we guys we really like. So look out for that episode. We got a bunch of clips up on TikTok, but we're gonna start diving into some of these divisions. We're gonna focus on the AFC this week, and we're gonna be doing some predictions. And the reason we're doing this because the last time we did it, you guys liked it. We got a lot of feedback, specifically on TikTok, some of our biggest videos ever. So let's try our hand again. We were right about a lot of stuff. Wrong about a lot of stuff. We're going to have each guy take a division this week, and we will flip them around next week until we're done with the conference, and then we'll hop to the NFC. We're going to start with Rocky today, right? Rocky, you have the NFC North near and dear to your heart. AFC. I'm sure you have a AFC North. Rocky, you have the AFC North near and dear to your heart with your Browns in there, so hopefully there's no bias here.
Yeah, no.
And we get a true prediction of what this division's going to be. Now, everybody, you could chime in.
Oh, we're trying.
Right? It's a jamboree.
Yeah.
So don't feel like you have to just let Rocky say what he needs to say.
So
go for it.
So the Browns are not winning the division. There's I'm chiming in right away.
surprise, yeah. I'm going to go by who I think is going to finish first in our division.
You're going to start with one?
Yeah, I'm going to start
I
with
think
one.
you should edge them a little bit and start with 4.
I think that everybody knows who 4 is and who 1 is. Maybe there's a little bit of discussion at 1.
Could be a 4.
Yeah.
Tied for 4th.
Could
But
be
I am going to do what I want to do, and you're going to shut up and just take it. You know what I'm saying?
All right. Well, passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
First place in our conference
Division.
is going to be Baltimore. No surprise there.
Yeah.
I have them going 13-4. I have them with losses to Buffalo, Minnesota, Detroit, and Cincinnati. So they'll split games with Cincinnati. Cincinnati tends to get hot toward the end of the year, and I think that's going to happen. But otherwise, I think they've got some wins here. They've got 2 wins against the Browns. I think they're going to beat KC, which is typical. They beat them in the regular season, lose in the playoffs. And then I think that there were some games that gave me some questions. Chicago, I do think that they're developing franchise. They're going to be a lot better. But I still feel like at the end of the day, Baltimore can win that game. So second, I had Cincinnati at 10-7. Cincinnati tends to start slow, and so I actually have them with an opening week loss to the Browns. But I have them beating enough teams. I have them losing to the Browns once, Denver, Detroit, Chicago, Baltimore, Buffalo, and Arizona, who I think is an up-and-coming team and is locked and loaded. Third place in the AFC North is Pittsburgh. I don't love their QB situation. Right now, their QB is Mason Rudolph. That doesn't instill any real fear in me. But I have them finishing 8-9, and I have them losing to Cleveland once, Detroit, Baltimore twice, Buffalo, Chicago, Cincinnati, Green Bay, and Minnesota.
Does Tomlin get fired if he doesn't make the playoffs again?
So, I thought about inverting this and giving him 9-8 because he's never had a losing record. Unless they sign Aaron Rodgers, I think this is the year he has a losing record.
I disagree. It just does not happen with Mike Tomlin. He has had
I agree.
a lot worse quarterbacks than he currently has.
I don't know.
Which is hard to imagine.
I don't know that he's ever had a worse starting quarterback than Mason Rudolph.
He's had
Mason
Rudolph.
Rudolph before.
He's had Mason Rudolph for 5 games. He didn't have him for an entire season.
No, the year that he got clubbed by your guy.
Yeah.
Mason Rudolph played almost the entire season.
No, I don't think that's true. But anyways, Mason
let's
Rudolph with an entire season. No, because Ben started that year, Ben got hurt.
Yeah.
And then pulling up the rear, as always, I have the Browns. I I do have the Browns winning only 5 games and finishing 5-12. I have those wins opening week against Cincinnati. Then I have them losing 6 in a row before they win 2, one against New England, one against the Jets. They win out at Tennessee, and then they split with Pittsburgh, second to last game of the season, and that's their 5 wins. So
Mason Rudolph, 10 game played 2019 season.
10 games is 7 less than a whole season.
Wow,
That
man.
was the COVID year. That was the entire season. And he got clubbed. He got clubbed in 10% of his games.
He deserved that club.
He's 9-8-1 as a starter. I mean,
He's Tomlin as a starter, basically.
he looked pretty good in some games with Tennessee.
I disagree.
No?
I disagree.
Can Tomlin be the next Andy Reid if he goes to another team? Can he get them over the hump? Like Andy Reid couldn't get the Eagles over
Yeah, but Tomlin won.
once, yes,
Yeah, Reed didn't.
right, but he got there at least once. Did he get there?
He got to the
twice?
Super Bowl once. He got to the championship game 5 times.
Yeah, a lot of times. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd have to go to a very defensive-minded team, I think, in order to succeed, because that seems like that's his
bread and butter.
his forte.
He speaks defense, I think, a lot better than he speaks offense. He tends to. I'll say this: they draft well. They draft receivers that are under the radar, but then they're all head cases.
Yeah.
So why do you think that the Browns finished below the Steelers, if that's the case?
I think the Browns' only hope
Because they play in
to
Cleveland.
be respectable, and I would say respectable this year for the Browns are maybe 8 and 9. The only way I can see that is if Quinshawn is everything we think he's going to be, along with Dylan. They go back to their run approach with 2 tight ends.
Shador shines.
Yeah, or one of them shines.
No, I know you're heavy on the Gabriel train, but
No, I mean
Think
they're
it's-
both looking good, in camp with pads and throwing receivers that are going to be delivering for UPS next week.
They haven't even started throwing the receivers. They're still throwing to the backside of the backfield every social media post that I see.
I think this. I think Mason Graham makes the Browns defense closer to what it was in 2023 than it was last year. I think they rebound, and I think if they've got a ball control offense, that they have a chance to be decent. But decent to me is 8.
You know it's going to be a terrible year when the Cleveland headline reads, in minicamp, Shador is throwing dimes in the flat. You know it's going to be a bad season.
I don't like Mark.
Well,
Just for the record. But I'm going to say something. So,
All right, honesty.
The Dylan Gabriel thing, I don't know what it is. When they drafted him, I wasn't mad. I think I would root for the guy. I think the fact that you believe in him so much makes me want him to fail.
well,
Does anybody feel that?
That's a good friend. That's a good friendship
Just me?
right there.
It's just that you're so
Supportive.
I don't know what it is. I want you to be wrong on
First
this.
of all, as a diminutive person yourself, you should be rooting like hell.
That's not fair. So you got to root for every
You should be standing on
corny
your step
guy
ladder.
that runs a Chick-fil-A.
You should be standing on your step ladder screaming for Dylan Gabriel to break out.
Okay, all right, just a ladder.
They didn't draft Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round because they don't think he's good.
Yeah, but they're the Browns, right?
Yes,
Okay.
fair. That's very fair. But
Don't say it like it's
they got to be right at some point.
quarterback university.
They've made the
They
playoffs
didn't pick him because they thought he
not
sucked.
too long ago. When's the last time the Giants made the playoffs?
Yeah, we made the playoffs in
I like how you're
Like
making.
2 years ago.
I like how you're making it. You're defending the selection of a quarterback in the 3rd round when they've had so many
It was
selections
lucky.
of
You
quarterbacks
asked
in the
the question, it
first
wasn't
round
lucky.
and not gotten it right.
I think the
Whatever you want to call it. You asked a question, I answered.
I think
Answer my question.
What was your question?
the floor for Dylan Gabriel is a
Pretty close
long-term-
because he's short, right?
Yeah.
There you go.
Long-term backup QB in the NFL.
So dumb.
And I loved Dylan Gabriel at UCF.
I love Dylan Gabriel.
I liked him at UCF. I liked him at Oklahoma.
Can you send Rocky a jersey if you watch
Yes,
this?
Dylan.
I'm gonna put
Dylan,
the
can
hard
you
eyes.
Yeah, I know this is deceiving because he's only 4'2", but he's going to need a 3X. Just saying.
You're really digging into the crates, huh? I got you, buddy. Man. All right, so who's going next? Is it this guy, the handsome one on the end? Go ahead, buddy.
Ooh, look at
No,
that.
no, I'm blushing. I'm going to start with the worst to first. That's how
That's how you should.
how
The way
it
it should be
usually
done.
happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rocky's a lone wolf. One man wolf pack.
He's a stallion.
So obviously it's a crap division for the most part. It's probably gonna be maybe competitive just based on they're gonna beat each other up because there's just no outstanding except maybe the Texans.
Yeah.
Oh God, you got the South. Are you doing
Yeah.
the West?
That's right.
Yeah, all right. I wasn't sure if you were doing one or not.
Well, there is 4, and there's 4 of us.
Yeah, the whole moderator thing though, we kind of
Yeah.
switched to. I was curious because you weren't listed on the thing.
Well,
And I was
yeah,
like,
'cause-
that sucks. Just stick him with the South.
Well, I thought
Stick the new guy with the
it'd
South.
be interesting because his
I get to
friend
shine
is a
now.
Jaguars fan.
Yeah.
He can make jokes
Your
about a
best friend.
sucky division. So
Your best friend is a Jag.
Other than you three.
yeah.
Yeah.
that's very nice of you.
So the Titans 4-13 is my prediction. New quarterback Cam, and it all depends on either backup is Levis. When do they get scared?
The Mayo God.
If Cam struggles, do they put Levis in for a little bit to try to get Cam a little bit of pressure off? And Levis is gonna not gonna do well. Then they got to put Cam back in, get the rhythm again. So I do think they can beat the Colts early.
Sounds like the Levis Tannehill Levis scenario from just a season or two ago.
So yeah, they have to rebuild their entire offense, but they did get a left tackle, which is what you definitely need with a young quarterback. They have Ridley. Pollard had over 1,000 yards. So they have small pieces. Their defense was second last year in yards per game, but their top sacker only had 6.5. Hooker had 5 INTs, and they did add Snead. But the problem is in that division, it's not a super pass happy division because I think the Jaguars will focus on the run more than they have. The chances of them getting anywhere is going to be tough.
Especially at 4-13.
Yeah.
Getting very far.
Yeah.
I think they go on a long losing streak after they beat a surprise Colts at home. Then the only major win they could have the rest of the year would be a surprise of the Texans at home, Seattle at home. I think they beat up on the Saints right at the end of the year to finish 4-13. I'm not high on Seattle this year. I don't.
Yeah, you don't believe the Sam Darnold.
No, I especially now that he's got money. I know once quarterbacks get that big paycheck, a lot of players fall apart once they get that paycheck. I'm just not supportive of what they're doing in Seattle. And then you trade away a stud receiver like that. Jackson Smith could be unreal, but it'd be much nicer for bringing in a new quarterback if you would have kept 2 number 1 receivers instead of trading one away.
I'm surprised. So you like DK? You feel like he is a stud receiver?
Oh, I think he's a stud, yeah. But 4-3, but by the end of the year, Cam is going to show progress in my mind, and they're going to have to just go with him in the second half, not put Levis back in. They don't need that mayonnaise problem. They'd go with the Miracle Whip.
Is that what we're coining Cam? Cam is Miracle Whip?
I think a lot of people like Miracle Whip.
What?
It's
you
an
guys-
acquired taste.
You guys feel strong about Cam?
I actually think Cam is going to do very, very well this season.
So-
I think Tennessee's going to be closer to 500 than people expect.
NFL comp, like as far as quarterbacks, like who does he remind you of?
He reminds me of probably
Put you on the spot here.
maybe a little bit more of a mobile Dante Culpepper. So maybe like a Dante Culpepper early in his career. I think he's got a big arm. I think he's an accurate passer. I think he's probably a better leader than what Culpepper was. So maybe that's unfair to Cam to compare him to Culpepper. But just on the spot like that, somebody that he reminds me of and can come in and produce right away.
That's where he doesn't
like
have
a
the
Culpepper.
weapons, though.
Yeah, I mean he's got what? He's got Calvin Ridley. They brought in Tyler Lockett. He's got Tony Pollard, Tyjae Spears, Chig, who this guy's always high on Chig every year.
We were all high on
We
Chig.
dig the Chig.
And I think they're serviceable. I think they're pretty. I think he's got better weapons than people realize.
Yeah, but they have
They're last year stats, buddy.
flip back. Like
They're last year stats.
they're not gonna beat the Cards.
No,
Chargers will be tough.
they won't beat the Chargers.
I think they'll lose to the Browns in Cleveland.
That's actually what I have too. I have the
Chiefs,
Browns.
49ers,
It doesn't make us any more confident.
Raiders.
You guys agree with that?
Rams, Broncos. I think they have a fairly tough.
Yeah, I think they do too. But I think there's going to be a lot of close games that will be decided by mere inches.
They did
Game of
have a
inches.
decent record in close games. They had a lot of close games last year than I thought. More.
It's a game of inches. Bring in Will at the end of the game. He's proved on tape multiple times. He's got the inches necessary.
It's
Oh, you haven't?
You didn't
You've
see
never
the
seen? You've never seen the Will Levis
No.
tape of lore? Whoo, man!
so see that the way you're reacting is a little too much, Mark.
Colts.
You said woo.
I think the Colts are 6-11. They're gonna have a quarterback battle that's not gonna be flashy. Daniel really couldn't get over the hump and win with a great, amazing running back, top flight rookie receiver that they drafted. Their secondary's gotten much better, but the QBs 16 touchdowns, 19 interceptions last year. They lost their center, their guard, which definitely is going to hurt their run game a little. Taylor did have 1,400 yards. Franklin, though, well, the defense, 173 tackles. That's crazy. They have 3 receivers with 800 yards, so they spread the ball. They have at least above average receivers.
Green Bay.
They have 3 guys with 3 INTs. But they score decently well, 22.2 points per game. Their schedule, I think they're going to be terrible off the start until they find what they are. But then I think they could go down near the stretch. I think, again, they could beat Seattle, so I'm not high on. They could beat the Falcons are going to be an easy win. Steelers could be an easy win. They got the Jags, Colts. I think can split a lot of the close games because of their run game if they just focus on running the ball until they figure out which direction they want to go in quarterback.
So you said Atlanta an easy win. You're not a believer in Phoenix, huh?
No.
No.
You know, I think that
What is it
there's-
about the Phoenix that you don't like?
I just
And there we've devolved.
I worry he's a hesitator.
Yeah.
He's
Hesitant
going to
Phoenix.
hold the ball, or he's going to figure out, do I need to run? Do I need to pass?
So he's not a finisher.
No.
No, this is all right. This is definitely a pulling out Phoenix. Is what you're saying?
Oh, yeah.
Not going to finish. All right.
I think
You got to finish the drives. You got to get in the end zone.
I think that there's been a lot made out of a very short stretch where he played adequate football.
Yeah.
I think he's going to show a lot this year.
Maybe so.
I'm high on
I
Phoenix.
think he's overrated.
Yeah.
He had the worst missed throw rate in the league when he played last year.
I mean, he had to transfer a lot in college to try to even find. And each time he
Why are
transferred,
you, instead of you shaking
got
your head
better.
like an idiot, why are you so high on him?
I think that given the opportunity, I think Phoenix is going to shine.
Okay, aside
I think
from
he's got the weapons. I think
you
he's
just like saying
coachable.
Phoenix.
I think
Definitely.
I think you like beating penis into the ground here.
he's got a rifle for an arm, and he's got the playmakers around him to be able to get the ball. So I think the question is going to boil down to, can Atlanta protect him and give him time to throw? And I think you're going to find that the answer is
Can
yes.
he be accurate though?
Yes.
Why?
At the end of the season, he showed that he can be accurate.
He had the worst missed throw rate in the league.
in a very small sample size.
Well,
for
that's the
a-
sample size you're using
for
to
a
say he's going to be
right,
good.
for a rookie quarterback. What was his
For a rookie.
accuracy in? Yeah, he was a rookie quarterback last year.
I know. What
At
does
the end
that
of the
mean?
season. That
So
first
he
year
was
is
worse
tough.
than all the rookies that played last year as well.
So tell me what his accuracy rate was in college.
I don't know. Do you?
Okay. Yes. Well, I don't know exactly what it was, but
so
it was good.
It's weird
And
that you brought it up.
Well, no, I mean, if that is your knock on him, that he has the worst accuracy rate downfield. Again, small sample size. You only got to play at the end of the season.
Yeah, but that's
And Kirk
all right.
wasn't lighting the world on
Okay.
fire. And he came in and he put a shot of energy into that team.
Yeah.
He's not a statue back there. He's a mobile quarterback. You're going to get out of him You know,
mean,
you guys, what's cracking me up
was
is you're
60
so high on Jameis Winston and don't acknowledge his inaccuracy downfield, but
was-
you're willing to crucify this guy.
He
Who was high on Jameis
61%.
Winston?
Classic moving the goalposts.
Listen,
Here, huh?
he
It's not
was-
moving a goalpost.
he was
That's an
60
accurate
Winston.
comparison.
He was 61% his first year, 68 his second, 56 his third, 53 his fourth, 65 his last 2 years. So he showed improvement.
Yes.
But 65 is like a baseline for an
But every
NFL
team he
quarterback.
transferred to also had better talent.
Well, and Washington ran a simple offense.
Oh yeah.
Well, Washington ran an offense much like Atlanta. They're a high-flying
And
passing
they had
offense.
two good receivers, much like Atlanta.
Yeah. So I think that Penix is going to be just fine. You can't help the dude's name for crying out
You
loud.
like saying it a lot.
I got the Jags in third. A surprising.
Oh, we're still in the South.
Dang it.
Yeah, he's taking
Yeah,
forever.
take it for.
It's already
Mark's
6:30. Hurry up.
stepping in there.
Mark's a stepper.
It's the Jags. It'll be
stepper.
second place, 9-8. Be kind of a surprise.
Which sucks for the Browns because we get a subpar first round pick.
Yeah, they have a stud receiver coming off a rookie year. He had 10 touchdowns, 1,282 yards, second in yards. They lost Kirk, but I think they drafted super well with the running backs and receivers. Travis Hunter could be the key make or break their season. It all depends on just the energy he brings. I don't know if he's going to bring the stats, but the energy when he's on the field, I think he definitely needs to help them maybe more on defensive than offense. But I don't know when they're going to realize that. They're remaking the whole team, so gelling might be a problem. Because if you know that your job's in trouble every game because of, you were drafted and signed by the previous administration, and then this guy is, scrutinize you in every single week, that may affect your play. I do have them starting off pretty well. They have the Panthers game 1. I think they could win that. They're going to sling the ball and run the ball. They have Seattle. Again, I think they can win. Then they have Chargers is a 1:00 game. I think that's a winnable game coming off the West Coast for 1:00. I think they have a shot at the Rams being at home, but that's a maybe game. And I think they'll get a lot of easy wins. They got Titans, Jets, Panthers. I said Seattle. I think they could beat the Cardinals if they're rolling at the end of the year, and 9-8 with probably eliminate in the last couple of weeks of the wild card race. But I think they have a shot at being much, much better. And some people actually have them winning the division. I think Pro Football, one of the fancy ones, have them winning the division, which
Those people are called morons.
yeah. But if things fall their way if they have to beat the teams that are bad, because they're not going to be in San Francisco. I think that's going to be a hard win at the Chiefs. The Raiders going to be much more improved. They do have the Texans. Broncos at Denver is going to be a very tough game.
There's no margin for error.
They
with
have
this
to
team
win the
this year.
games on paper and have a couple upsets, but I think they have a decent shot at being.
I mean, there are people
Very
that
respectable.
feel like this is a year T-Law puts it all together and actually.
Do we believe in him in year 6 all of a sudden?
Last year it was 4,100 and 25 touchdowns. So,
25 is
He's
average.
consistent.
but he's going to have a much better receiving core this year.
I don't know. I do like Brian Thomas Jr. I don't know why he's sliding down boards. My favorite part of your breakdown of the Jags is the notes to yourself. I like how you have Travis Hunter is key with an exclamation point, as if to tell yourself to get
know.
really riled up.
know.
Did I want
Travis Hunter.
Word out of camp is that he looks terrible in his route running.
Yeah,
he
his comebacks.
stumbled.
His comebacks, they said, are very atrocious.
They said that his comebacks aren't coming back.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
Eventually, he makes it back because he parked his car on the other side.
Nice.
But did you want to put like Travis Hunter ?
Maybe. I think that would probably be more fitting to the analysis for Travis
I
Hunter.
think he's the key.
He needs
Very, very emphatic.
needs to bring it.
And then by default, I think the Texans will be 10-7 and win the division. They only really have to go 4-2 in their own division, and then go 5-6 or 6-5 5 in the other games. I mean, they can pretty much look crappy in the rest of the games and still win that division by going 4-2, which I have them going 4-2 in their own division. Yeah. I think Nico needs to take that step to be a top 8 receiver this year. He's got the tools, but he's just never. He's a great receiver, but I think he needs to move up to be one of those top tier.
He needs to stay healthy.
No tank. So they're going to rely on Higgins and Golden, with Golden being a nice big target, Higgins being the quick guy. Schultz is still the tight end. Running back, you got Mixon. I'm not a huge Mixon fan. He had 1,000 yards, but I think that's 800 to 1,000 is his kind of a home. So they're going to have to rely on their rookie to kind of pick him up. Their sack leader had 12. They averaged 21 points per game. They did lose their offensive line. They rebuilt it because they allowed 50 sacks last year. Oh. So they brought in 3 brand new guys, but they lost Tunsil, who's a Pro Bowler. So that could hurt them. And the guys they brought in are all young. But I think they start off kind of bad because they do have at the Rams, you got the Buccaneers, and then at the Jaguars. But then they got the Titans. They do have the Ravens. That's going to be a loss. Then I think they just go on a run with Seattle, 49ers at home. I think they can upset somebody like the Broncos in like a high-scoring shootout. Then, fortunately, they got the Bills, Colts, Chiefs, but I think they can beat the Cards in another shootout. Raiders, Chargers at home, Colts at home. So I think they could end the season on a pretty nice streak at 10-7. I don't know if they're a winnable playoff team, again, like they were last year. I think they could be an in because they're division and then kicked out in the wild card game pretty easily, depending on who they have to play. But I think in that division, as bad as it is, I think they can get in just by being serviceable with their non-division opponents.
You think CJ rebounds this year?
Slightly. I think it all depends on his capability of getting in tune with his receivers. And like you said, if Nico stays healthy, that's the key. Because you can't go with the 2 rookies as your number 1, number 2 guy. They got to learn from somebody.
I just think I think the key to Stroud's success, and I have been actually scarfing Stroud up as my second quarterback. I think that the key to his success is running the gauntlet of having won that division last year, and their strength of schedule is pretty difficult this year.
Well, you know what's really odd, though, is it used to mean when you finish last place, you got the easiest schedule, but they actually rated out the Browns and the Giants as the 2 hardest schedules next year, which was shocking to me. And I was like, how can that be? And then I looked at it, and I was like, this is a tough.
Well, it's because there were teams last year that, like the 49ers, who didn't play well.
Yeah.
But they're,
they're on the schedule.
But they're you expect them to be better. So
Chicago's in the same boat.
But it does suck for teams like 49ers who have to come all the way West Coast and play a 1:00 game. I think those type of games are going to hurt. A game you're expecting 49ers should win, but you come all the way from the West Coast for a 1:00 game. And there's quite a bit of those when I was looking at all the schedules of teams having to play that.
Yeah, they scheduled oddly this year. In fact, like they gave Minnesota a game in Dublin and then a game in London the next week. And the team they're playing against in London is going to be
I think that's agreed upon before the season, though. I don't think they just throw Minnesota into the fold. I think Minnesota volunteers for that.
No, well, what I'm saying is that they gave Minnesota 2 back-to-back weeks over there. So they'll be used to the time change. Then they fly another team unused to the time change.
Yeah, but they're also not home for 2 weeks, so
yeah, but
I think it evens out.
I think I do feel like Minnesota, especially against who they're playing, they'll be the more popular team in both of the stadiums.
It's surprising I can't remember something.
Boo! Why? Who cares?
But I think one of the overseas teams is also on the West Coast, and they have to go all the way to either Dublin or London. One of them foreign countries.
Nobody cares.
No one cares.
They're not my team, so
Keep it on American soil.
All right, so you got a boogie. Do you want to leave now?
if you guys don't mind, I unfortunately have to dip.
All right, everybody, say bye to Jay. Thanks for having him. This was Jay's wish to be on a podcast one time, so we did it for him. We're happy you're here, buddy.
My Make-A-Wish came
Yeah,
true.
your Make-A-Wish came true.
You can die later on.
Now
tonight.
died. All right, Mark.
All right. I was tasked with the easiest division in the AFC.
Is it?
There's not a whole lot of frills with this division.
No interest or intrigue?
So I'm going to keep this pretty brief as I can at least. I think obviously in the basement of this division are those lowly New York Jets. Those Jets that have now invested in Justin Fields as their
You mean
starting quarterback.
the Ohio State?
The Ohio
You mean
State.
Chicago's hometown hero?
Hey man,
Justin Fields?
He was
He's not
serviceable.
You know, he's not going to bring them to the promised land?
He's not going to bring them to the promised land. However, I will tell you
Wow.
that at the end of the year, they're going to go through a little run. I have the Jets finishing 4-13, and they are going to be
Yes.
they're going to be 1-12 up until 4 weeks left before the end of the season,
going
and
to
then the Jets are going to do what the Jets do, and they're going to screw themselves out of the first pick, which is
There
what
you
they
go.
oftentimes do. So I have them beating Carolina early in the season.
Yes.
And then the 3 out of the last 4 weeks, I do have them running the table on Jacksonville,
Yeah.
New Orleans. I think they lose to New England, but they beat Miami, and that shifts who gets into the playoffs and who doesn't out of that division, as I have New England and Miami tying at 9-8, respectively. But I think those last 2 weeks of the Jets are going to determine which of those two teams makes the playoffs. And I think that the Jets lose to New England, they beat Miami, New England ends up with a playoff spot out
So
of
you
this
think
division.
the wild card's going to make it with 9-8 record?
Yeah, I do. I think there's going to be a 9-8 wild card. I think it's going to be New England.
All right.
Buffalo, I think this is obviously Buffalo's division to lose. I know every year we talk about Buffalo taking a step back, but Buffalo seems to keep doing Buffalo things, and they keep the foot on the throttle. I honestly only have them losing games to Cincinnati, Baltimore, and splitting with Miami. And that split with Miami is very generous. I just think that oftentimes these teams play each other pretty tough, and that's why I'm giving them credit for a split with Miami. So I think Buffalo finishes this division 14-3, is the obvious division winner. I think they probably finish, I'm going to say second in the conference behind Baltimore. I think Baltimore finishes first, Buffalo second, and then you're going to see, I don't even think Kansas City's going to win their division. So I think Kansas City's going to be a little bit lower seeded. But I got Buffalo finishing as the number 2 overall seed in that conference.
Interesting, because that's what I'm talking about next.
Yeah, that is
right.
interesting.
Go ahead.
Some people would call that a segue.
Yeah, but you still have teams to get through, right? Don't
No,
you?
that's it.
Oh, that's it. Well, good segue, Mark. I'm going to be talking about the AFC West. And you know what I did? I came in here. I knew who I was picking, but I did the work. I ignored what Jay and Mark were saying, and I went through the schedules, and I got some records for you guys, all right? So, unfortunately, much to my chagrin, I think you're wrong about the Chiefs, but we'll start from the bottom. Finishing in very last, no surprise here, Tom Brady or not, the Raiders are going to be 2-15. Lo and behold, there's only 2 wins coming against the Bears and the Browns, respectively. Sorry, guys.
You're an idiot.
I just feel like those are games they could win. A young Bears team on the road, week 4.
Well, I mean-
feels like a prime. Hear me out, though. This is real. They're at Commanders week 3. The Jane and Dan. It's going to be an overhyped game. It's going to be a big game. Might fall into that 4:30 slot. I think it's going to be pretty big. And then you're on the road at the Colts the week after. It feels like a game they might overlook as a young team. I can see
Caleb
them.
will have to, get all dialed up for the strip.
That's true.
Yeah, I
forgot about
probably his
that.
first trip to Vegas.
Yeah. And then they're just going to straight up beat the Browns because they suck.
As long as he doesn't get any tips from Deshaun before he goes out there, I think he's going to be all right.
Deshaun.
Deshaun.
All right, so there's not a lot to talk about the Raiders. I do feel like they're going to get things turned around with. I feel like Brady's there. They'll figure something out. They're going to be competitive. This is not the year. They're drafting high again next year. They got to get a quarterback. I think this year's about building just expectations of what they want guys to do in that building, a culture, just a shift in the way they think. I don't expect them to be very competitive at all. So Raiders 2-15. that clears the runway for a lot of these other teams to have a pretty good year. So in the third spot, I got Denver, who's the team that I really like here. But going through the schedule, I have Denver at 10-7, losing some big games at the Eagles, at the Texans, some big wins at the Commanders, and also at the Chiefs, or at home to the Chiefs. I think they're going to build on last year. Pretty young team, especially some of the core pieces. But Sean Payton's got that thing going over there. I don't see them really losing the momentum they started to build in the second half of the year. And I expect them to get one of those wild card spots. So we have Denver at 10-7. Anybody?
I mean, I like Denver a lot. I like a lot of their moves that they made in the offseason. But I think what you're saying could be true because I think there's a lot of good teams in that division. I like both the Chargers. I like KC. And so somebody's got to finish third.
Without looking at their schedule, their exact schedule, I feel like 10-7 for that team is probably generous. Okay. I think their season is going to obviously be determined on whether or not Bo Nix is the real deal.
All right, here we go. Titans. Is it win or loss?
Oh, we're going through their...
I'm just going to do it real quick. Win or loss?
I think they beat the Titans.
This is got to be quick, right? One win. At Colts.
Colts
Win. All right, at Chargers.
Chargers.
Bengals. Home to the Bengals.
Bengals.
Okay, at Eagles.
Eagles.
Jets.
They beat the Jets.
Giants.
They beat the Giants.
Cowboys.
They lose to the Cowboys.
At Texans.
That's a close one. Let's give them the nod. Let's say they beat the Texans.
Raiders at home.
Raiders at home, they win.
Chiefs at home.
They lose.
Commanders at Commanders.
I think they beat the Commanders.
At Raiders.
They beat the Raiders. That's at 7.
Home to the Packers.
They lose to the Packers.
Jaguars at home.
They beat the Jags.
At Chiefs.
They lose to the Chiefs.
Home to the Chargers.
I think they lose that one to the Chargers, too.
So they get swept by the Chargers. They lose to the Colts.
Yeah. I have them at 8 wins.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the Colts one is questionable. I feel like they're going to win either the Eagles or the Bengals game.
And, that's not to say that they can't.
They were a playoff team last year.
If Bo Nix can replicate what he did last year, I don't think any of us were really high on Bo Nix coming out of college.
I was.
But if Bo Nix, I mean, it's always easy to say in hindsight that you were high on Bo
drafted
Nix
him.
for
I
crying
drafted
out
him.
loud.
It's documented.
But
It's documented.
But if
you guys watch the show, we put the clip up.
if he's able to replicate the success that he had last year, then it will be a little bit easier for him. But I think
So you're off 2 wins. That's it.
Yeah.
And I mean the Colts one, I really feel like is you're just being cute there.
No, I actually like the Colts.
You like the Colts, yeah? Really? That's interesting. Okay. All right. So then we
believe it or not, Danny Jones is the quarterback.
He's the real
they needed.
deal. Nice. All right. So in second place, we have the Chargers, formerly of San Diego, finishing at 11-6, right on the heels of the Chiefs. I could see this going the other way and being a game difference and them winning the division.
It better be. I mean, you called that not too long ago.
It just last year.
No, you said the Chargers were going to win the division this year.
When did I say that?
I forget. It was a couple months ago. It's like one of the first.
During last season?
I don't think so. I think it was for this season coming up.
I called that.
I think so.
I think you're making that up.
I don't think I am because I think you said John or Jim Harbaugh in his second season.
Okay, you sure? Anyway, so I do feel like you could go either way. Yeah, the Chargers are good. Year 2, they went and drafted their running back. He went out and got another stud running back that's going to fit the system. Another year, Lad McConkey. John Harbaugh's team is going John Harbaugh. I can't stop talking like
Jim.
my grandfather, Jim, whatever. John, Jim, whatever, the older one. Harbaugh's team. They're gonna be who they were last year. I think they ran out of gas late in the year. They needed more of a presence on the outside to complement Lad McConkey. Are we going to see that come to fruition this year? I don't know, but I do think going down their schedule, they have a pretty favorable schedule. Yeah, I don't know how the AFC West wound up with this draw. I guess they just lucked up the way the cookie crumbled, but it lines up pretty well for them, and I could easily see them overtaking the Chiefs, who we do have in first place. Do you guys want to talk about the Chargers at all, or are you in agreement there?
I think that the Jim Harbaugh plan year 2 is in full swing. I think he's got 2 running backs that he really wants to deploy. I think that I forget who they brought in, a tight end. Can't remember who the tight end was, but he brought in a tight end, a blocking tight end that can catch. Mm-hmm. Quentin Johnson. They brought Mike Williams back into town, who was familiar with catching passes at least from Air Bear. And then they go out and they get Trey Harris, who to me is one of the more underrated receivers in that draft.
I mean, I think if the Chargers overtake the KC Chiefs and win that division, then
Are you AI?
yeah, it's going to have to be because Harbaugh gives up some of the control of the running game and allows Herbert to pass like we know he can.
Yeah.
I think you're right. He's got 2 great running backs, but they're both great catching backs out of the backfield. And so I think if he allows Herbert to be who Herbert is.
I don't like how you're going to Herbert now.
Herbert.
Yeah, you just went hard Herbert.
I think they could surprise
Herbert
people.
with 2 hard R's.
Yeah. But
Herbert.
I have a couple question marks about their defense. They are getting a little bit older.
A little long in the tooth, as they say. So we listened to. I was a little liberal with the losses I gave them because I am so high on them, and I think that's what bit me in the butt here, and it got them at 11-6. So listen to these losses. Tell me if you disagree with any of them. I got them losing at home to the Chiefs. I have them losing at home to the Commanders. I have them losing at home on Sunday Night Football to the Steelers. I have them losing on Monday Night Football to the Eagles. I have them losing their second meeting with the Chiefs as well at Arrowhead. And I have them losing Week 18 at the Broncos.
So I think that they split with the Chiefs and they beat the Steelers. That's 2 more victories right there.
That'll put them
And
a
the
game.
Commanders. I think they beat the Commanders too.
Yeah, here's my thought process with the Chargers. What I'm trying to keep in my head is that they've, in the last few years, and it's not all been Harbaugh, obviously, they've tended to not always show up in the bigger games. So that's why I get a little worried with the Sunday Night Footballs against the Steelers, Monday Night Football matchup against the Eagles, Chiefs matchups. I feel like they could play well, but I worry about them kind of not really being ready for the moment. So, but yeah, that's why I said I could easily see them winning another 2 games and overtaking the Chiefs, who I have at 12-5.
Tyler Conklin was the guy I was trying to think of. So they
That
brought
is a
in
good
Will
pickup.
Dissly last year. Will Dissly's a great blocking tight end who is capable of catching. Tyler Conklin's a little bit more of a pass-catching tight end, but is, again, another phenomenal blocker.
There you go. And I have the Chiefs at 12-5. I'll give you their 5 losses, see what you think. I have them losing to the Ravens Week 4, Lions Sunday Night Football Week 6. I have them losing at the Bills Week 9. Have them losing at the Broncos Week 11. Losing to the Colts. No, not losing to the Colts. Losing to the Chargers Week 15.
I think that's fair.
They lost at the Broncos. Oh, they should have lost at the Broncos last year. What was that fluky field goal thing?
It's so I had in your last scenario, I had Denver getting swept by Kansas City, but I could see them potentially splitting.
I mean,
Well,
they
they
I think
essentially
play
beat
each other
them.
tough. Yeah.
They essentially beat. What was that Fugazi thing that happened last season? That was like the first thing. Remember, the Chiefs were winning games like magic tricks last year. It was-
Talking about the 80-yard Tim Tebow run, that one?
no, not that one.
That was quite a few years ago.
No, that was Denver.
That's
About
what we're
Kansas
talking
City.
about. Oh.
Kansas City.
Yeah, you're talking about Kansas City in Denver, though.
Kansas City beat Denver in Denver. It was like a fluky.
There was a penalty that was
Oh, for sure.
iffy.
If you're talking about last year's Kansas City, it was
yeah,
definitely
so
a
that's what I'm
penalty.
saying. And this wasn't in the throes of, them becoming men as a team. Denver Broncos. This was early season, like before Week 8, and they kind of had them on the ropes. They should have won that game. I don't see why they can't take care of business midway through the season. The Chiefs on the road don't scare me especially in division as much as they did a few years ago. So, but I have them winning division. They will be in the conversation. As much as I want to see them perish, I think they're going to have a little bit of a fire lit under them after the embarrassment in the Super Bowl. I think they'll be right there.
I think KC signed the best left tackle in the draft. I think that they shored up their wide receiver position some, shored up their running back some. Their defense was already great last year. I think that's a good call. I think KC actually is going to be a stronger team this year than they were last year.
So do you think they're set? Like, we were talking about this on TikTok, right? We were going back and forth about their wide receiver position. Who's the guy? Like, I do feel like they have a lot of guys, but who's the guy? Like, is it Rashee Rice? I don't know.
If he comes back completely healthy, it's Rashee Rice.
Yeah. Well, I think it's Rashee Rice. I think it's the rookie that they drafted, who I'm blanking on his name right now.
You know who it is. We were talking about it. Were you responding there?
I can't think of who it is.
You look it up.
I like Josh Simmons. Would have been the number one left tackle had he not tore his Achilles or his ACL. But he'll be back. He'll be back mid-season, and the guy is an absolute truck at left tackle. So I think.
But do you think he's going to be full go this year at any time?
I think him at 80% is better than what they had last year.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know you were convinced on Rashee Rice before the injury. I was getting there. But I wouldn't say like I was. I don't feel like, maybe you could refresh my memory.
Jalen Royals from Utah.
Jalen Royals, there you go. Yeah. I don't feel like when Rashee Rice got hurt, he was established. He was the guy already. Like, I think he was on the way.
So he played the first 5 weeks. Let me.
That's what I'm bring it up, because I do remember saying like he was trending in that direction, but I don't know that we were going week to week saying Rashee Rice is that guy. No, I don't think we were doing that.
What it was is, so remember, I put Rashee Rice in my top 5 overall wide receivers for fantasy football last year.
Well, that's why you're banging the table right now.
And after week 5, he was trending. He was like number 2 or number 3 overall.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you here in just a second.
I like this wide receiving core. I think Xavier Worthy is something that...
They remind me of the Green Bay receiving core.
Yeah, I think Rashee Rice, and I do like Royals. I think that you're going to see Hollywood Brown. He might be somebody who's traded or cut at some point.
I feel like they got a lot of guys.
They do have a lot of guys.
But they don't have a guy. Not liking what you're seeing or what?
No. I'm trying to look for it here. Where are we at?
Game by game.
Yeah. So 12 receptions for 110 yards and a touchdown.
That's nice.
5 for 75 and a touchdown.
Yeah.
7 for 103.
It's good.
Here it is. See y'all. 2024, and that's all he played. He just played the three games.
So what was he averaging? About like...
So he was averaging 100 yards a game, nearly a touchdown, and 8 receptions a game.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's 3 weeks. So, yeah, I think that's what it was. He was coming on, gets hurt. So, yeah, I mean, if he's back to that and he continues on that, I just, I guess I haven't seen it enough. It was a new thing. I don't know. I worry about them a little bit. I feel like Worthy's a gadgety guy.
Worthy is a gadgety guy for sure.
And Juju in Hollywood, I feel like at this point, Hollywood, he's been injured so much that he's not the same guy.
No,
so,
and then you have to depend on Pacheco coming back 100% healthy too.
They drafted somebody though, right?
Brashard Smith in the 7th round, who can flat out fly, but again, running backs that go in the 7th round usually go in the 7th round.
They didn't draft another running back?
No, that was it. They have Kareem Hunt there. That's their other guy. But
really, okay. We were talking. I know what I'm conflating that with something else. All right. Well, yeah, that's it. That is the South. Want to throw out the wild card teams real quick, or what do you think?
I'd have to think about it real quick, but I think
we get 2 wild card teams out of this division.
Yeah, that's what you're saying for sure.
So you're saying you're going to Chargers and Denver.
I think Chargers. Yeah, if you look at the rest of the AFC. Do you see a second team in the South? I don't.
No, I think you get the Bengals in the North who I think ends up as a wild card.
Yeah. I think the Bengals and Chargers guaranteed, and then it's going to come down to, what do we have going?
That's what I'm saying. You don't have 7.
A lot. We have 7 that go into the playoffs. You got
4 and then 3 wild card.
Yeah, and if you, I don't think Miami, I honestly believe this is the year that Tua takes the final concussion and he's gone.
Wow,
Yeah, that's why I said
That
I
was
think
terrible, but like I don't want it to happen, but I believe it will happen.
I think New England gets that final spot. I think
Yeah,
it's
I
gonna.
don't think so.
I think it's gonna be close. I think it's gonna be New England, Denver. I think Indianapolis,
I think New England is going to
possibly
be very
Jacksonville if they.
Well, New England does have the benefit of playing the Dolphins and Jets twice a year now.
yeah.
They do, and I do like Vrabel. I think he'll bring them, but I would bet that it would be the Jaguars as
No.
or if we're going outside of the Chargers, Denver, Bengals, if one of them doesn't make it, I would bet on the Jags more than I would bet on New England.
I like what New England did. I like New England bringing in Stephon Diggs with that young wide receiver core. I think it's going to, Diggs, Demario Douglas. I'm high on Keyshawn Boutte. Those tight ends, Hunter Henry, fantastic. You bring in Travion Henderson. They've committed to Drake May at this point. It's the Drake May show. So if Drake May can come out here and
Sling it.
and prove all other North Carolina quarterbacks wrong and actually do very well, then we're gonna have a legitimate contender on our hands, and maybe it's the second coming of Tom Brady.
Maybe. All right. So we will be back next week with a further breakdown on the AFC. We got to try to work a little bit of fantasy into this, but this was really popular last year. I want to continue to do this and see if we can get some of the same feedback that we did. So if you guys like it, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Comment underneath who you think got their predictions right or wrong, and who do you think is going to win this division or make the wild card. Please go to all the socials at GON Podcast and let your voice be heard there. Follow us. Stay tuned for what's coming up leading up to the season. We're going to try to introduce some new stuff, hopefully, and just get ready and get pumped for the season, man. We love you. Peace.
Sweet.